Hi, I want to demonstrate some of the functionality around Alis Ideate. We aim to make it simple to capture context that's scattered across different people, potentially even across different organizations, to synthesize and help you understand it, and then to translate that into helpful outputs that can be used to communicate to the different stakeholders required to get further feedback on or to take along on the development journey. So let's look at an example quick. Let's hit record to start a new idea. I've been tasked to lead the integration with the bank. So we currently have a bunch of different co-working spaces, and we want to integrate with the payment API from the bank. But it's been quite confusing to understand how everything works and what the requirements are for integration. So let's create this idea, and this becomes the sort of placeholder where we can make sense of the things that we care about. So let's give it a moment for it just to configure everything. We can see that it created an idea with a relevant title. Now let's say that we have a contact at the bank that can help us provide a bit of clarity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite a contributor, and let's record another voice note just because it's the easiest way I find to communicate. I want to understand exactly what's going to be required for us from the bank side in order to integrate with their API. Please share with me any kind of documents that's helpful to understand the API, but also make sure to focus on what the onboarding process is and all of the compliance needs. Okay, so I'm going to send that through, and Ideate will create a bit of a better framing for me of what I need from people. And I'm not exactly sure who I need to send this to, so I'm going to generate a public link that I can then add in an email and send on to the contact that we have at the bank. So I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to copy the invite link, and I would then send that through to the bank. So let's move over from the bank employee side that receives this email and see what their experience would be. The bank side, they'll receive this link that they can open up and join a session. When they join a session, the Alis Ideate agent will, on behalf of the person that sent it, ask questions and allow people to contribute to this. So I'm going to do a few turns in the background, and then we can revisit this from the people who require to integrate. Each time someone participates in these sessions and completes it, I will get an email to say that they have completed. So let's open this up and see what has been contributed. Opening up the session review page, I get a synthesis across all of the different people that have participated. In this case, only one Ron Con has completed the session, but if multiple people were involved to give different parts of the process, everything would be reconciled in this view. I can then step into the individual contribution session and get a synthesis of the interaction that was had with our Alis Ideate agent and get a clear overview. So in this case, trying to understand what's needed for onboarding, I can see that there's this three-phase process. I can see that there's some API documentation around it as well. And I can then actually look in detail at what this conversation was like between the person engaging with the agent and seeing the content that they provide. The video, I don't just have to view the entire video, but I can actually check out the things that was mentioned and see it synthesized on the right hand side here. So what is the process that they mentioned? So in the video, they spoke through this three-phase process, and we can actually extract some of those things. We'll pick up on what some of the acronyms and jargon is that was mentioned there, and make sure we propagate that up. On the right-hand side, I can ask the agent detailed questions about this interaction. And so I can ask, for example, what the major API endpoints are. It is aware of all the underlying things that has been shared, and so it will give me information about that. I can also ask general questions across different participants to make sure that I understand in detail the things that are going on. Going back to the actual idea, we now see this information that was shared gets synthesized at the top level, and allows me to make sure that I understand what's going on. I have the visibility to step into the underlying things that has been shared, make sure that I understand exactly what the integration needs are in this case. And so the process of capturing the context by sending out this session, reviewing and making sense of everything that has been synthesized, or reviewing the detailed individual contributions that they were, and then finally looking at how we bring this together to communicate to different audiences. So let's look at the specs. Our means of taking all of the information that has been provided and helping to put that into a structured format that you can give to different stakeholders depending on the type of information that they care about. So we've started off with just a few here that we found helpful, but these are extremely extendable, and so any specific template that you might have and care about, we can very easily bring in. An example might be drafting an RFP if you're not wanting to build this thing out yourself, where we can capture all of the information from the idea and put that into a document that you can then send on and request a proposal for people to integrate this. For those building things out themselves, we also provide like the more specification type development documents where you can generate a prototype, for example, using one of the AI tools that we support, or taking this and into your own context for your developers to integrate. And so the richer the information is that we capture from the start, the richer these kinds of things are that we are able to produce. But as mentioned, we can extend this in a way that is helpful for our clients. These are just some of the ways that Alis Ideate helps to go from idea to impact faster. And check out our other videos to see some of the other use cases, and let us know if there's a specific use case that you would like to see more of.